It's you liberals who have lifted them up, Howard.
Paul, you conservatives make a mistake. You can't afford to strangle hope people. Without hope, people become dangerous.
No, Howard, you liberals have let them invade our society. You give them jobs, political jobs.
Paul, you missed the point. It's only the smart we move up.
That makes it even worse.
No, we have to move them up. If we leave a smart one in the ghetto, he might develop into a leader against us. But if we raise him up into white society, we neutralize him. He feels compelled to try to act like us. He loses his identity and his racial anger, if he has any. He becomes alien to his brothers. They realize he sold them out and they grow to him. He becomes to them and safe for us. No, thank you. In fact, in his love for the creature comforts, except for his color, he's become one of us.
Look at this goofball ass nigga. Right. Fucking this little dirty bitch is what doing. Yeah, it's a problem. You better watch how you coming, so I'm telling you. I'll lay you the fuck out, yeah.
What you doing?
Stamped I would.
What you doing, white nigger?
Huh? What you said?
You heard what I said.
I'll put you out right now.
You will?
I would.
You have no idea. I will fucking kill you. Yeah. Fuck out of here.
Pussy, put him to sleep. Put him to sleep. Fuck you talking about? Put him to sleep, boy. Better watch that shit, cuz. Told you all that. Golden gloves, you hear me? Get the fuck out of here now.
Umbrella. She's up. Whole nother level of shit you can't even understand.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another episode of The Forecast. Now, a lot of people are using this Jessie Smallette case to try to say a lot of the racism we experience is just made up. In fact, they are the victims of racism. And now this group that is historically known for making false allegations, all of a sudden now they believe it should be punished severely. Never mind the fact that to this day they still call 911 on us all the time, making false accusations, starting trouble, and then trying to play the victim. Now, I do think what Jessie Smallette did was a crime and he should be punished. But the thing about his case, first of all, they were able to put together surveillance video. They could see everything that happened to him that night. But when it comes to all this black-on-black crime in Chicago, none of it's on surveillance cameras. To the point where so many people can get shot and they still have no suspects. But with Jessie, they could see almost every step he took. And I don't condone what he did, but I'm not mad at him. We have a long line of people to worry about before we can get to the lie Jessie told. There's no telling how many false accusations that got black people killed in America. There was the Duluth lynchings in 1920. 3 black men, Elias Clayton, Elmer Jackson, and Issac McGhie, who was working for the circus, who was in town for that one night. And 2 white people, Irene, Tusken, and James Sullivan, just so happened to go. Now, I don't know what happened, but the next day, the white boy James Sullivan told the police that 6 black men held him at gunpoint while they robbed him and raped his girlfriend. Now, even the white doctor in 1920, that examiner, said it was no evidence of rape at all. But 6 black men were still arrested anyway. Then the lynch mob, which they said could have got up to 10,000, broke into the jail and pulled out 3 black men. Then they beat and tortured them before they hung them in public. And even though all of the evidence says these brothers were innocent, nobody was ever charged for their murders. And even though, thanks to our ancestors, it's not as bad as 1920, throughout history, we have example after example. Until this day, they're still doing it. Like Cornerstore Caroline, 50 or 60 years ago, she would have got that little boy lynched. But was she punished for falsely accusing the little boy of sexual assault? Then you have cases like what happened to the brother Marc Pepples in Detroit, where he got the police called on him for gardening while black.
The troubling case dubbed Gardening While Black.
An African-American man who's an urban farmer ended up on trial over the allegations of 3 white women angered by his work on a community garden.
7 Action News reporter Kimberly Craig tells us what happened and how it played out in court.
Marc Pepples went on trial this week on 3 counts of misdemeanor stalking, and by the time it was over, the judge had harsh words for the 3 women who claimed to be the victims.
These women clearly were lying, you know what I mean? Clearly they were lying.
They complain saying that you have threatened them in the past.
Marc Pepples says for months, 3 women who are white repeatedly called Detroit police on him for working on a garden in an old park on the city's east side, falsely accusing him of being a pedophile and having a gun. And when he painted trees red, black, and green, colors of the Pan-African flag, he was accused of being in a gang.
None of this was true. None of it is true. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't, this was purposely done to try to destroy my life.
People's attorney Robert Burton Harris says this was a case of
gardening while black, where you have people calling the police on mostly African Americans for doing very mundane things.
Do you think she moved into this neighborhood to be called a racist?
This man is a friend of one of the 3 women whose complaints ultimately landed Pepples in handcuffs, charged with 3 counts of misdemeanor stalking.
So you got to cuff me and all that?
They were willing to call me a pedophile. They were willing to call me a gang-banging, gun-toting racist, you know what I mean? And I was doing anything but planting the seed, to try to help my community grow.
Hey, the part about him coming out and farming and teaching kids how to farm, it's fantastic. Oh my God, please do more of that, But at the same time, you can't get done digging a hole over here and teaching kids how to do it and then walk over and say, I'm going to burn your house down and run you out of here because you're white.
But when Pepples went on trial this week, 36th District Court Judge Elenice Bryant acquitted Pepples, siding with the urban farmer in a directed verdict. And she believes this was a case very much about race.
It was clearly, in my opinion, that these ladies had engaged in not only harassment of Mr. Pepples, but illegal conduct towards Mr. Pepples.
They just strictly thought that their so-called white privilege was going to work this time, and it didn't.
Marc Pepples and his attorney say they now plan to file a civil lawsuit against the 3 women for, at the very least, defamation.
Now, this brother Marc Pepples, who was just gardening and trying to teach his daughters how to grow their own food, and he committed the crime of painting some trees red, black, and green, which ended up pissing off 3 old white women. So these 3 white women, Deborah Nash, Jennifer Morris, and Martha Callahan, started to repeatedly call the police on this man every time they saw him. And after the police couldn't do anything about what they call illegal gardening, they started falsely accusing this brother of having a gun, saying he pointed it at him, accused him of being in a drive-by, and said he threatened them. And then one day when he had his kids with him, they accused him of being a pedophile. Then the police ended up arresting this man and charging him with 3 counts of stalking. The spokesman for the prosecutor's office, Maria Miller, said these women were deemed to have provided credible allegations. Luckily, the judge was a black woman who knew what was up, and she ended up dismissing the case. She said instead of him being on trial, it should have been those 3 white women, because they were the ones stalking and harassing. And they were the ones who initiated contact in the first place. Now, were these old white women charged or punished at all? No, they weren't. Now, even though most times it's just a slap on the wrist, more and more young white women are being charged with false accusations, like the white woman Kristen Rimes.
Kristen Michelle Rimes, a white woman in South Carolina who claimed she was attacked by a shadowy figure who attempted to rob and sexually assault her in a Walmart parking lot, has been arrested and charged with lying to police. Rimes, 26, lied about the November 26 incident and was charged with filing a false police report and false swearing to police. An investigation found that Rimes was not even on the Walmart property that night. At the time of the incident, Rimes posted pictures complete with bruises on her cheeks and nose and a bloody cut above her eye on Facebook. Rimes also filed a police report that claims that she was assaulted by an unknown male suspect, according to a news release from police. Rimes claims the unknown man said, "Hey girl," to her before suddenly punching her in the face and dragging her from the car. She went on to say that the man dragged her from the car and assaulted her. "He started tugging on my pants," Rimes told South Carolina news site Cola Daily on November 27th. "Then I suddenly hear another guy scream, 'What's going on over there?' At that point, the guy took off. The man who yelled never came back. I just take it as an angel sent from God right at that time. I wanted to get home and get out of there," she added. "I went first thing Monday morning to file the police report to pull camera footage, which I'm so mad at myself for not calling them that night. I think I was still in shock." Rimes claims she didn't get a good look at the suspect. Yet when asked for a description, she was oddly specific. He was a black male, medium build, wearing a hoodie with a jacket over it, she said, repeating the often used trope of blaming a mystery black man of assaulting a white woman. According to police, Rimes' post about the incident and subsequent police report caused a public concern, police said in the news release. Rimes was arrested in December and taken to the Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center, police reported in the news release. Her claim of her assailant echoes hundreds of incidents over the years where a panic was caused when a woman implicated a phantom black man as an assailant.
Now, this white girl went out of her way to lie about a black man assaulting her. She said while she was in the Walmart parking lot, a shadowy figure came out of nowhere and said, "Hey girl," and punched her in the face and then tried to rape her until somebody yelled and then the guy ran off. But then the guy that yelled somehow disappeared. She even posted pictures of herself with cuts and bruises on her face. And then it turns out she was never at the Walmart in the first place. She went out of her way just to lie about a random black man. Now, she did get arrested and charged, which is different from even 10 years ago. But her just being charged isn't enough. That white girl, Breanne Harmon, was also charged after she beat herself up, then ran into a church half naked and said 3 black men did it to her. Now, they did charge her after she was caught in her lie, but eventually, she didn't even have to do any jail time. They gave her a special probation. If she completes, she doesn't even have to say she was convicted of a felony. Even the ones who are charged, somehow the story goes away. Just like the case with the white girl Rachel Massor. They charge her, but before the punishment, somehow the story goes away.
The woman who told University of South Carolina police she was almost kidnapped is now in trouble with the law. That's because police say she made the whole thing up. 18-year-old Rachel Massor is charged with filing a false police report and false swearing. Massor told police that a man in his 30s grabbed her arm from behind and told her to come with him. She claimed it happened around 10:30 this morning on Pickens Street in Columbia. University police and city police searched the area but did not locate the suspect. Police say they later found out that Massor lied about the incident and it never happened.
It's right behind me on the corner of Pickens and Blossom Street at a very busy intersection on the USC campus where 18-year-old Rachel Massor claimed that yesterday afternoon someone tried to kidnap her in broad daylight. But come to find out, the surveillance cameras in the area tell a very different story.
But we had to tell her the truth. We had to give her the reality of, we know that you're lying, we have surveillance video at the time, the location of this incident and what you're alleging, and we know that it's not the truth.
And even though it did ultimately come out that Massor was not telling the truth, there is no denying that the text alerts sent out to an estimated 70,000 USC students, parents, and alumni made people more aware of the crimes that could potentially happen on campus.
I mean, it is downtown Columbia, so you never feel completely safe. So it's just, I don't know, it's a city, so this just sort of, makes it seem more real.
Another thing that is very real are Massor's charges and potential punishment.
Because she lied about a felony in the Code of Laws in the city of South Carolina, she faces a felony charge of it's actually called false swearing and lying to police, so filing a false police report.
A charge that could land Massor behind bars for up to 5 years, or she could also be fined $1,000. So why in the world would she lie about this? That question has still not been answered, and people are left to simply speculate.
I'm confused as to why she would make that up. There was a rumor that she was trying to miss a test, but that doesn't seem worth it to me.
Now, this white girl made up a story about a random black man trying to kidnap her just so she can avoid a test. Now, she was charged, but it quietly went away. You don't hear anything about her being sent to jail, about her being sentenced, or any kind of punishment. And even in the rare cases where they are sent to jail, like the case with the white girl Mary Zolkowski, who made up her own story about a random black man trying to kidnap and rape her, she was charged and she was actually sentenced, but she only ended up getting 45 days. And in her case, they actually arrested a random black man. And who knows what would have happened to him 50 years ago. Now, before I worry about Jessie Smallette getting punished, first let's deal with people who lied and got people hurt or killed. Carolyn Bryant's still alive and there's no statute of limitation on murder. But that woman probably won't see another cop for the rest of her days. But the biggest difference in the sentencing gap is between white women and black men. And until sentencing is equal between white women and black men, and every other group in between, then I'm going to focus on the justice for the people who look like me. And I don't have time to worry about Jessie Smallette. And at the end of the day, we are the only ones that's going to be able to get justice for us. We can't count on any other group to give us justice because they can just take it away at any time. And the only way we can get out of this situation is for us to get on code enough to do what we got to do. Because at the end of the day, we are all we got.
Yo, what's up, man? How old is you?
Let me get back tomorrow. Huh?
How old are you?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm 48. Brother.
So why you try to tell my little sister she could come get your number and it don't tell no motherfucking body?
I'm sorry,
That's
brother.
the fuck you did, man. Don't fucking lie to me.
I apologize about that. I don't
You don't apologize about shit. You know she a kid. Why you turn out to fucking tell nobody?
I'm sorry, brother.
Ain't no fucking sorry. You in our motherfucking neighborhood, our black kids going missing. Y'all motherfuckers is trying to kidnap them. How you gonna tell a little girl not to say something to some fucking body? You can't say sorry for that shit, nigga. The fuck wrong with you? Nah, ain't no sorry. You don't tell no little girl not to say something. She fucking 13 years old.
I say I'm sorry.
You got kids? You got kids? Because our motherfucking black girls is missing in this motherfucking city. In Columbus, our black girls missing. Y'all know where the fuck they at? You know where the fuck the black girls is at that's missing? Because you telling little girls not to say shit.
How many little girls out here that are missing?
Hold on. Why you telling her not to say nothing?
That's my little sister.
Why you telling her not to say nothing?
My little sister coming every
Because you know she underage, right? But y'all running stores in our motherfucking neighborhood telling our kids. You won't tell that to no little fucking white girl. Go on.
He's a fucking rapist.
Why are you in our country, in our city, in our motherfucking neighborhood telling our kids not to say no sorry? Can you say sorry to the little? Can you say sorry to the little kids that's missing? Huh? You can't say sorry to their ass, can you? Why they going missing? Because motherfuckers that's sick like you is giving them your number and getting them later on. Can I fucking talk?
It's not that.
You don't say I'm sorry when you tell a 13-year-old girl that you can talk, that they can talk to you to get your number, not to tell their fucking parents, nigga. You don't fucking say I'm sorry. Because if I grab you over this motherfucking counter right.
Out of the car.
I'm not stepping out of the car. No, you cannot pull me out of the. Yo, why are you pulling a gun on me? Why are you pulling a gun on me?
Take your seatbelt off.
Why are you pulling a gun on me?
Get out.
Why are you pulling a gun? Why are you pulling a gun on me? Why are you?
Stop reaching for shit.
Why the fuck? Hey!
Out of the car.
Hey!
The car.
Hey! I ain't did nothing wrong. Why are you pulling a gun on me? Why are you pulling a gun on me? Why are you?
I've been recording it the whole time. I've been recording it the whole time. I've been recording.
I didn't do shit wrong, but come out here and go to the store. He come right here, walk by. The private people gave me the right to ask anybody. You've been standing me since I walked up in this bitch. You've been standing me since I walked up in this bitch.
Put your hand behind your back.
Man, I ain't touching you.
Put your hand behind your back, bro.
Don't touch me, bro.
Stop
Sir, don't touch me, bro. Don't touch me, bro. Don't touch me, bro. Don't touch me, bro. I ain't touch you. I ain't did nothing to you. I ain't did nothing to you. Get out. We ain't talking about getting back. Bro. Get back. Get back. Get back. Get back. Get back.
He just got home.
Get back.
He just got home.
Relax.
My son just got home.
Put your hand
He just got home.
Put your hand behind your back.
My son just got home.
Put your hand behind your back.
Why are you even complaining?
New at 10, the 911 calls from inside Schwanke Caston Jewelers as Milwaukee Bucks player John Henson stood locked outside that store. Henson says he felt racially profiled as employees called the police on him.
But employees say police told them the SUV Henson was driving may have been stolen. Katie Crowther is live in Whitefish Bay to sort out all the details.
Yeah, Shannon and Steve, the owner of this store, says what happened here is a big misunderstanding, and he apologized personally to John Henson. But tonight, we're getting more insight into what unfolded behind closed doors. John Henson called Schwanke Caston Jewelers last Friday. He wanted to buy his first Rolex watch. Little did he know his call was prompting a call to police.
We've just had a couple suspicious phone calls lately at the store. What were the phone calls about? They were just asking about what time we were going to close, and they just didn't sound like they were legitimate customers.
In response, the store closed early that day. When Henson came by with friends, an officer in an unmarked squad car ran the dealer plates on his red SUV. They were from Coons Country Ford Lincoln, but a manager there could not determine who the car belonged to. The officer says he told the manager 4 black males exited the vehicle, to which the manager replied, "That's not our normal clientele." Henson returned to the store in his SUV Monday.
The officer told us if they came back, we're supposed to call again. Okay. They're at our front door now, and we're not letting them in. I am hiding in the office. I don't want them to see me out there. We're pretending like we're closed. I don't feel comfortable letting them in.
Responding officers determined one of the men outside was Henson and told the store to open up for him.
I have officers there. They'd like you to come to the door if you could, please. Why do I have to come to the door? Can the officer come to the back? I'm not going to the front door.
After unlocking the doors, employees requested that a police presence remain. The officer says, "I refused to stay in the store while he shopped." And part of Henson's contract with the Bucks is to get a vehicle from a local dealer. Now, the owner of Schwanke Caston did release a statement that says, in part, racial profiling is never acceptable, and we deeply regret how the circumstances unfolded. As for Henson, he just said he doesn't want this to happen to anyone else. Reporting live in Whitefish Bay, Katie Crowther, today's TMJ4.
Katie, thank you. The owner also says that he and his employees are on high alert after recent robberies. He mentioned a burglary at the jewelry store in Green Bay. As far as the Whitefish Bay store, we found out the last time the police were called was in July for a suspicious car driving down the alley.
Fashion may be about taking risks, but tonight another luxury brand is facing backlash for taking it too far. Burberry under fire for showcasing a hoodie at London Fashion Week, called out by one of its own models, writing, "Suicide is not fashion. It is beyond me how you could let a look resembling a noose hanging from a neck out on the runway." Adding, "Let's not forget about the horrifying history of lynching either." Burberry says the design was inspired by a nautical theme, but now realizes it was insensitive. The company apologized and removed the product and all images that featured it.
There is some anger over a 5th grade field trip. Students were told to pick cotton and sing slave songs.
One mom is upset because it is the middle of Black History Month and says it trivializes slavery. But as Fox 46 investigator Matt Grant explains, the district says it has nothing to do with that.
I like it when you pick like that. I like it when you feel your sack. I like it when you don't talk time, make money.
South Carolina 5th graders told to sing while picking cotton in a field.
I'm livid right now.
In the middle of Black History Month.
I'm African American and my ancestors pick cotton. Why would I want my son to pick cotton and think it's fun?
This cell phone video shot by a teacher was sent to parents.
Okay.
And brought this mom to tears.
I think it's making a mockery.
A mockery of what?
A mockery of slavery, a mockery of what our people went through.
Jessica Blanchard's 10-year-old son Jamari says he didn't understand what he was singing. Nor did teachers explain how cotton fields were harvested by African American slaves.
Did they talk about how slaves used to pick cotton?
No.
A permission slip sent to parents does mention picking cotton as part of a history lesson, not on slavery, but the Great Depression. For 15 years, Rock Hill 5th graders have been coming to the Carroll School, which was built in 1929 by and for African Americans. It now serves as a teaching center for African American history during the Great Depression and is run by Rock Hill Schools. The district calls this, quote, a unique learning opportunity that promotes understanding about our past and helps students make real-life connections.
They thought it was funny.
Jamari says picking cotton was part of a game. He thought it was fun.
It was a contest. Whoever picked the least amount of cotton had to hold the big sack called Big Mama.
There is no race. The kids go out there and they pick,
And this, the Big Mama concept is just it's humor.
81-year-old Wally Cathcart is an instructor here at the Carroll School, where he was also a student in 1943. The son of sharecroppers, this former cotton farmer now shows kids what he and his parents had to do to survive.
We need innovation in the educational system, not just lecturing children, sitting up in a classroom.
School officials say they correct children if they mention slavery, saying this is about the Great Depression. Cathcart calls the lesson living history.
What do you say to people who find this offensive and say that this trivializes slavery?
I certainly love to answer that question because I deal with this issue all the time. One of the problems when it comes to African American people is that they fail to understand history in its proper context, and because of that, we're at a disadvantage today.
I asked why they skip over the history of slaves being forced to pick cotton. That's when district spokesman Michael Frost stopped the interview.
What did you want to say?
Matt, that is not the topic of this interview. The interview is about the Great Depression. We have provided you documentation to provide that resource. You can continue the interview, but we're not going to go off script. Do you understand? This interview's over. We're done.
I don't think they should have anyone picking cotton.
As for Blanchard and her son, both support the Carroll School and its mission, but say this history lesson goes too far.
I think it's misguided and maybe ignorance on their part.
In Rock Hill, South Carolina, Matt Grant, Fox 46, Charlotte.
Now, our story got results before it even aired tonight. The mom says top leaders at Rock Hill schools called her to personally apologize. They say the program meant well and pledged to work with her to make changes to ensure that it is not offensive to anyone.
Fallout over a field trip. A couple says their child came home with horror stories after she and some other students were called racial slurs and chased through the woods. I'm Irene O'Connor.
And I'm Eric Parker. This was all part of a slavery reenactment, but the family says it crossed the line. They filed a complaint with the school. Channel 3 Eyewitness News reporter Matt McFarland is live with all the details. Matt?
Good morning. Well, this all goes back to a field trip from the Hartford Magnet Trinity College Academy to a place called Nature's Campus in Massachusetts. And during that slavery reenactment, students said that the counselors there said that they were, quote, not a person, but rather property, even using the N-word during this reenactment. Now, one couple says they want an apology from the district and saying that if these field trips continue, that portion needs to be left out.
The fact that they use the N-word. I mean, how dare you do that, say that to my child and call it an educational experience? How dare you say that to any child?
Sandra and James Baker have been battling the Hartford School District for nearly a year, one they've now taken directly to the school board.
I ask that you imagine these phrases being yelled at your 12-year-old child and their friends. Bring those to the house over there.
The Bakers filed a complaint with the school board over a field trip last year to Nature's Classroom in Massachusetts. At the time, their daughter was a 7th grader at the Hartford Magnet Trinity College Academy. The couple says on the third night of a 4-day trip, there was a slavery reenactment. They say their daughter and her classmates had to pretend to be on a slave ship, pick cotton, along with pretending the instructors were their masters. The couple adds the program told the students they didn't have to participate in the Underground Railroad segment, but only told them 30 minutes before it was to start. Sandra Baker says they filed complaints with the State Department of Education, the Human Rights Commission, and the Office of Civil Rights.
It's a town of people of color. Really, you could not, I mean, Hartford, you could not see that something was wrong with this?
Now, the Bakers tell us their daughter no longer goes to school here. We did contact a spokesperson with the school district, but we were told that they would not be commenting on a pending lawsuit. Also, we reached out to Nature's Classroom to see if they would talk to us about that program, that Underground Railroad and the slavery reenactment, and we haven't heard back from them.
Racist field trip I have ever been on in my fucking life. They took us to a fucking cotton processing place. And there was a big ass cotton field out in the middle of fucking Raymond, Alabama, in the south of Montgomery County. We went there, and me and 28 other little nigglets in Miss Harper's 3rd grade classroom, they took our asses out there in the middle of the fucking August heat and said, hey, y'all, they gave us bags and shit, like little cute little plastic bags. With a cotton puff person with a smile on his face, and they're like, "Hey, y'all go out there, have fun, pick as much cotton as you want." And so my stupid ass went. You know, I went. My mama signed off on it and didn't think about it, and I went to the fucking field trip. Out there in the field, just having a good old time. We were singing songs and shit in the middle of the motherfucking field, picking goddamn cotton in the middle of the fucking heat.
And then, you know, I'm thinking, because it's a field trip, they told us you can pick as much as you want. Hey, you get to keep the fucking cotton. You can keep it. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to keep it. And we go to get back on the bus. They're like, all right, kids, turn your bags in. And they take our asses inside and took all the damn cotton that we had. And then told us to get back on the fucking bus. So me being a little rebel, I took a handful of cotton, stuffed it in my pocket, and went home. Then my mama came when she was doing laundry the next night. She was like, what the fuck, is this cotton in your back pocket? I was like, yeah, where the hell did you get unprocessed raw cotton from? Well, yesterday on that field trip, they took us to a cotton processing plant, and we got to pick cotton all day long. My mama came to the school, and I swear to God, that shit went down. She locked this woman in a room like, how dare you jive-ass motherfuckers take my kids and all these other ashy little Negroes to a fucking cotton field in the middle of the summer. You fucking soulless bitch. She fucking checked me out of school. I didn't go to school for 3 days behind that shit. She said, I don't want to have to look at that bitch. She was pissed at everybody. Yes, that was the most racist shit I've ever gone through in my life. I didn't even understand what was wrong until the next year. I didn't even understand. I just thought we were just going to go have some fun in the field.
At the Okeechobee labor camp, while families were preparing to move north, there was still some work in the bean fields. Children, as usual, were left to fend for themselves.
Jerome, how old are you?
9.
9? Do you go to school?
Yes.
Where do you go to school, Jerome?
At the Okeechobee Elementary School.
I see. What is your sister's name?
Lois.
That's Lois. And what are your other sisters' names?
Catherine and Beulah.
Catherine and Beulah. What happened to your foot, Jerome?
Dig a nail in out there by the wash house.
So you drove a nail in out by the wash house. What did your mother do for that?
She put some alcohol on it.
Where do you sleep, Jerome?
In this bed.
You have this big bed?
Yes.
What happened? How did you get that hole in that bed there, Jerome?
The rats.
The what?
Rats.
Now, Jerome, you are taking care of Kathy, of Beulah, and Lois.
Yes.
Now, are you going to give them lunch today?
Yes.
What are you going to feed them?
I don't know.
Do you have any food here to give them?
Yes.
I see. What time does your mother come home?
I don't know.
The following day, Arlene King, the mother of Jerome, Kathy, Lois, and Beulah, again was picking beans.
Aileen King, I saw your children yesterday at the Okeechobee camp. Why didn't you put them in the nursery?
I don't make enough to pay for it.
How much does it cost to put them in?
85 cents.
85 cents.
That's right.
Aileen, what time did you come out the field this morning?
6 o'clock.
What time will you get home?
About 3:30, 4 o'clock.
6 this morning to 4 o'clock this afternoon.
That's right.
How much did you earn?
$1.
$1?
That's right. $1.
Is that because the beans were of poor quality?
That's right.
Has this happened before?
That's right.
How much will your food cost you today?
About $2.
Aileen, how old are you?
29.
How many children do you have?
14.
How old were you when you first started working in the fields?
8.
You've been working 21 years in the fields?
That's right.
Aileen, do you ever think you'll be able to get out of this kind of work?
No, sir.